Here are my top 5 tips for beginners who are just starting out in Endgame. Endgame is now available to everyone regardless of if you've completed the Black Ops 7 campaign or not, so I'm sure there'll be lots of fresh faces dropping into Avalon. If you are new to the channel, I've been uploading tons of Endgame guides and tips since launch, focusing on making them as short and simple as I can. This video is going to be a little bit longer than usual as I'm covering 5 topics, but if you are looking for help then check out my other guides. I'll be uploading a lot more Endgame videos in the coming weeks, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out. So let's get things started with my first top tip. Weapon Rarity. Increasing your weapon's rarity is a very important step you need to think about taking early in the game. There are a total of 4 weapon rarity upgrades you can make in Endgame. You start the game with a common rarity weapon, which is grey, uncommon, which is green, which slightly improves weapon performance and damage output compared to common. Then we have the blue rare type, followed by purple epic, and finally gold legendary. With each increase in rarity, your weapon will deal more damage, making the next zone easier to navigate. You can increase your weapon's rarity by upgrading it at a jailbreak workbench by clearing command centers, or by finding higher rarity weapons in loot caches when completing activities or assignments. There are a couple of videos on my channel that go deeper into weapon rarity, so feel free to check those out if you want to know more. One of the most important things players need to understand about Endgame is that you absolutely must exfil or escape as it's known, otherwise you will lose everything. You'll lose your weapon rarity and your combat rating, meaning the next time you come into the match you'll be right back to basics. The only way to avoid losing all of your gear and progress is by successfully exfilling from the match. To do this, you need to head to an escape location. These are marked on the TAC map as large yellow and black circles with a VTOL icon in the middle. You need to make sure that you head to one of these locations with at least 5 to 10 minutes left on the in-game clock. You'll see a large plume of purple smoke, walk into it and interact with it. This will call in a VTOL to pick you up and take you safely out of the game, securing your weapon rarity, combat rating, and any additional weapon you may have, including exotics. But before you can safely enter the VTOL, you need to clear a wave of zombies. This ranges depending on the zone you are escaping from, but it's roughly between 15 to 30. Once you've killed all the zombies, a boss type will spawn in. You need to eliminate this boss before the timer runs out or you will fail. I recommend that no matter what zone you are playing in, that when it comes time to exfil, you drop a zone or two and exfil from a bit of a safer and easier location. The lower the zone, the easier escaping is. Once you've cleared the zombies and boss type, the VTOL will land and you can hop into the back of it. Again, this is timed, so be sure to get into the VTOL before it flies off. Another word of warning is not to stand directly under the VTOL as it lands, because it will knock you and potentially trap you so you can't escape successfully. Successfully escaping allows you to bring any weapon and their rarities back in with you in the next match. You will also maintain any combat rating levels as well. Let's move on to my third tip, which is zones and how and when is best to start taking them on. There are a total of 4 zones in Endgame, with zone 1, 2, 3 and 4. Zone 1 is the beginner zone. This is where the enemies are at their weakest, and zone 4 is the hardest with the toughest enemies in the game. As the zones go up, the enemies get harder. The recommended combat rating for each zone is as follows. Zone 1 is CR 0 to 10, Zone 2 is CR 10 to 29, Zone 3 is 30 to 44, and Zone 4 is combat rating 45 and above. There is absolutely nothing stopping you from entering the higher zones earlier than these recommendations, but the difficulty does climb fast, and you'll struggle to take out enemies if you aren't high enough rated or your weapon isn't upgraded. The higher the zone, the greater the rewards, but the higher the risk. You can check where the zones are on the TAC map, and there is text above the minimap letting you know which zone you are in. Each time you cross in and out of a zone, an on-screen notification will pop up letting you know which zone you are entering and the recommended combat rating for it. My fourth tip is to utilize the grappling hook as your minor ability. The grappling hook will allow you to reach much higher places with ease, but also get you up into the air so you can perform a glide. Kinetic jump is also a decent minor ability for this, but I personally think the grappling hook is much better as it gives you more flexibility to reach higher places. It can be connected to nearly any surface in the game, such as lampposts, trees, bridges, and buildings, which can be used to fling you into the air. Vehicles are available in Endgame, but learning the grappling mechanic mixed with a good wingsuit glide will get you much further, much faster, as you don't need to navigate roads or obstacles in the air. The grappling hook or any other minor or major abilities can be found in the main menu for Endgame under Operator and Abilities. You can switch and change these anytime you like, but I highly recommend taking at least the grappling hook. Endgame is a sandbox experience you drop in and make your own fun with it. The real fun begins with the combat rating level increases as you begin to move faster, shoot more accurately, or even replenish armor plates automatically. Some of the later abilities include a shock charge when you reload, so there is real power to be gained by focusing on leveling your combat rating. So my top tip is to boost your combat rating as quickly as you can, so you can unlock the more fun aspects and harder challenges that Endgame has to offer. There are two main ways to boost your combat rating in Endgame. These are activities and assignments. These are like contracts found in Modern Warfare Zombies or Warzone. For activities, these appear as a green icon on the TAC map and minimap. They act like in-game real-time events where all you need to do is show up in the area and the mission will begin. These can vary from assassinating a target, clearing buildings of spores, or gliding through the air chasing butterflies. Assignments are a bit more serious and require the player to interact with a contract that will give them a mission and location to get to. Assignments tend to offer double the amount of combat rating points, but require a bit more time and effort. These can be found on your maps with a blue icon. My advice is that you mix the two different types of missions as you move around Avalon to maximize your combat rating gains. When you reach the next level of combat rating, you'll be given the choice of two different upgrade options. These will vary from level to level, but include things like reload speed upgrades, armor upgrades, accuracy improvements, and more. There are no real wrong answers with this. I'd recommend you choose whichever option from the two most suits your playstyle. Completing activities, assignments, taking out enemies, opening loot caches, eliminating bosses will all give you chunks of combat rating points, so make sure you're completing as many of these as you can as you play. The most fun I've had so far in Endgame is taking on Dr. Faulkner on the Red Skull Island. This is by far the hardest challenge that everyone should be working towards. The recommended combat rating level is at least 45, so I recommend you work towards that, as completing the boss fight comes with some decent rewards, like the no fear skins and exotic weapons. Again, there is a video that goes into this much deeper on my channel, so feel free to go and check that out. One final bonus tip for beginners is self-revives. It is really important that you keep a self-revive on you at all times. If you are knocked and playing as a solo and you don't have a self-revive, when you bleed out, you cannot be revived like you could in DMZ. You simply die and are sent back to the main menu. Completing any assignment or activity will almost always give you a self-revive if you don't already have one. So if you get knocked and have to pick yourself up, quickly run another mission and get one just in case. And those are my top tips for anyone just starting out in Endgame. I'll be uploading more Endgame guides in the coming days and weeks, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out. Have a great day.